Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. College football. This is the night before CFB. We're actually going to talk about the Thursday slate, and we're going to You guys can you guys hear me? All right, I'm getting an echo for some reason. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're talking about college football Thursday night and Friday night. We're going to talk about that, and then we're also going to have a show tomorrow night where we're going to be discussing the main slate for Saturday. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about. So welcome, yourfearlesschoice.com. We are $25 a month for the first 2 months, and we cover all sports, every sport. Niche sports is our specialty, but we cover everything. So if you're it's free Discord, check us out. We have NASCAR, we have esports, we have that DOT. We cover NBA preseason right now. We pretty much do it all. So all right, never mind. I just got my volume fixed. I'm sorry for that bad start. So all right, so to kind of go back, I'm solo tonight. Tomorrow night we have a show 9:30. Me and Wes covering college football main slate Saturday. Tonight we're going to talk about Thursday night, 2 games. We're going to talk about the Friday night, 4 games to get you off on a good start. And like I just said before, if you could hear me, check us out because we're pretty much crushing everything. If you look at our winning lineup room, I just had it up. Euro Hoops, all the guys cashed today. DOT, Dota 2, everybody cashed today. CSGO, a whole bunch of guys cashing. NBA preseason last night. MLB, we had a huge night last night. Actually, one of our NASCAR guy hit, I think, like third or fourth on a $5 single entry. We're doing showdown still every night. So you can't pay this price, $25 a month. First 2 months, check us out. Okay, so let's get on to college football. 2-game slate tomorrow night. We have both games start at 7:30. So first game, we have Navy visiting Memphis. We have an over-under at 56 points. Memphis is a 10.5 favorite, not a huge favorite, so touchdown and a half. The other game, you have Georgia Southern, worst receiving pass defense in the country, visiting South Alabama, 51 over-under. But South Alabama is only a 3-point favorite. So we actually have 2 decent games tomorrow. The problem is we get into it. We're going to go position by position. We're not going to go game by game. It's just tough with one person. But I'm going to give you the top plays by position, top cash play, top GPP. And this slate tomorrow is tough. So it's more of a GPP slate. We have a couple like really chalky plays, but then some spots going to be really tough to get, like a second running back, maybe like a third receiver tomorrow night. We'll kind of work through this as we deal with it. So let's get right into it. And tomorrow night, let's start with quarterbacks. Raw points, raw projections. Seth Hunt of Memphis is the top play, but he's 8.5, so he's not cheap. And the problem with Memphis coming in right now, Memphis has actually lost 3 straight games. They're 3-3, 0-2 in the AAC, going against Navy, who's 1-4, 1-2 in the AAC. But man, Memphis is really struggling to find his offense for a second year in a row. You think they have this high prolific scoring with Hennigan, Calvin Austin, but they still seem like they haven't found it yet, even though they're putting up big numbers. So tomorrow night is getting close to almost a near or must win for Memphis, because all you're reading about in the local papers down there is coaching change, what's wrong in Memphis. They have all these good players, but for DFS purposes, it's all about the freshman Seth Hunt. So he's 8.5. You probably do want him in your cash lineup. I'm assuming he's going to be the highest owned quarterback. Here he comes in. Even though they're going against Navy and there's not going to be a lot of possessions, he's still the best player in the slate. He's held his own. I mean, he's ranked 5th right now in the nation in passing, 1,938 yards. He's actually 8th in the nation in passing yards per game, 323 yards. He's actually coming off, I believe, it was his best game of the year. He threw 463 yards against Tulsa. He had 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 picks. He's now going up against a Navy defense, the Navy pass defense, which it's kind of middle of the line. They're allowed 234 yards in the air per game, but they're allowed 32 points a game. and they're around 8.3 yards per attempt in the air. So you're playing cash. Hennigan is going to be your top play. The problem is because everybody else seems to be is trash or GBP plays. So what are we going to do with our second cash? Is this one of them slates where you run a running back in Superflex? No, because we don't have any running backs to play unless we get some more injury news tomorrow night. So you probably do want to run a quarterback in Superflex, but who's it going to be? So right now I'm looking at Jake Bentley for South Alabama. Going up against Georgia Southern. I mean, Bentley is not the greatest quarterback. Some of you guys may remember him. He played for South Carolina. Kind of an up and down season for him. I mean, this is an offense that's averaging 356 yards per game. He's completed 66% of his passes, 1,100 yards, just 4 touchdowns though. They lost last week in overtime at Texas State, but he went 19 for 26 for 189, 2 touchdowns, which is probably his best game of the year also. But the reason he's going to be popular tomorrow is he's going up against the worst pass defense in all of college football, actually. I think right now they're ranked 130 out of 130 teams. Georgia Southern is on 337 yards per game in the air. That's 9 yards per attempt. They're giving up an average of 32.7. So you would think, I mean, this kid's a veteran. Bentley's been around, so you would think this would be the type of game where Bentley can finally have a good game. He's probably going to be your second Superflex cash play, plus he's only 6'9". So right now, that's where I'm leaning. Anybody else available that you can use me for GBPs or if you just don't like Jake Bentley? Couple guys, Ty Lavatai for Navy. Actually, I do like Lavatai. He's actually played now 2 straight games for Navy. The kid's a dual threat quarterback. Now remember, Navy runs that triple option. In the last game, he ran 24 times, 53 yards, and they're 31-24. Actually, was a close game, lost to SMU. And the kid's actually getting better every week. So I still think Bentley's in a better spot because of the game against Georgia Southern. But Lavatai, I think he's going to probably have his best week ever. This kid's 6'2", 210 pounds. He's a confident kid. Navy's pretty much now is handing over the reins to him. So he would be my top choice for GBPs, but still I said he'd probably be like my 2B if I want to talk about quarterbacks beside Bentley. Mainly said Bentley's going up against Georgia Southern, which is terrible. Anybody else out there you want to take a chance on, you can maybe look at the Georgia Southern quarterback. Georgia Southern's got their quarterback is Justin Tomlin. So if anything, GBP flyer, but he's only 5'2", so you can take a chance on him. I mean, you could probably do a lot worse at that price. Am I going to play him? Probably not. Let's look at his numbers here. He threw last week he threw 210 yards, 22 attempts, 3 picks. And now South Alabama's defense is not bad. They already have 7 interceptions on the year and 5 sacks. So Tomlin, I'm going to have 0 exposure to probably. Anybody else? No. There's really nobody else you even want to look at. Once again, it's a 2-game slate. So you're playing Hennigan in cash, Jake Bentley. If you don't like Bentley, you can play Ty Lavatai. If not, play Ty Lavatai as your GBP pivot in quarterbacks. All right, moving on to running backs. Also, if any of you guys are watching live, we'll have more views obviously on demand. But anybody's watching live, if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat room. If I see them, I'll pick them up, ask them. If you want to ask, if you want to play this guy versus that guy, especially for Friday night, just ask them in there. If I don't get to them, our admin will. So let's go to running backs right now. So this whole slate is going to be about Memphis and trying to fill the Memphis guys in. And the top running back on the slate, obviously, is probably going to be the highest owned. I haven't seen any projections yet. Is going to be Brandon Thomas for Memphis, who's only 6'5", middle of the road, but you got to play him. Thomas last year I think he only touched about 2 times. So he came into this season now as nobody thought that he was gonna come in as a redshirt freshman and take over this team. Now remember, this is a team with experience at running back. They got Rodriguez-Clark, who we played a lot in DFS, especially we played a lot last year. McQuavius Weaver, and then you got Kalen Watkins, who we actually played a lot last year. You got those 3 guys come in, and most people did not think that either 3 of those guys were going to let Thomas be the featured running back. And next thing you know, here's Brandon Thomas as the RB1 for Memphis, highlighting tomorrow night. You heard about, he sat out last year. It was a big ego check for the kid and all that. But obviously, the kid busted his ass, came back. Now, in 5 games so far, he's rushed for over 500 yards and scored 5 touchdowns. Not bad for a kid that we didn't think was going to be starting this year. Now, we do have one problem with Thomas is he's got a little bit of a fumbleitis. And was it 2 games ago he fumbled the ball? And that's when Rodriguez-Clark came in and took over. But then he came back against Tulsa and ran for 77 yards, two rushing scores on the ground. Got his job back. So you do know, if he fumbles the ball a couple times, Rodriguez comes in. Rodriguez is more than capable. But he's obviously not going to run the ball. Brandon Thomas is your main guy here. He's actually, Thomas is accounting for 47% of the rushing volume right now. So you don't want to look at anybody else from Memphis right now. Don't worry about fumbles. GBPs, if anybody, I would run maybe Rodriguez. You can even run Weaver or Watkins, all 3 of them in GBPs. But cash, Thomas should be your main guy. Lead your cash comps off with Thomas. Now, here's the problem that we have. We don't have an RB2 really on the slate. Mainly because of injury news. So right now, I'm looking at, and it may be more of a contrarian play, but I have some interest in Isaac Ross for Navy. He's only 4'9". Now, right away people go, yeah, well, he's not even the RB1. He's not. Right now, James Harris is still the RB1, still on top of the depth chart as the RB1, but Ross has outcarried Harris each of the last 2 games. So, and they're not even, the snaps aren't even there even. So, let anybody else play James Harris, and hey, he may have a good game, whatever. But right now, I think I have interest in Ross. I think he's got 45 carries over his last 3 games. 30% of the carries he's eating over the last 2. And he actually leads the midshipman in rushing on the year for 233 yards. Remember, Navy they play that smash mouth style, triple option. Right now, they're averaging 59 runs per game, 220 yards per game, which is actually 20th in the nation. Yeah, and that's why we have some interest in the new quarterback, Ty Lavatai. But I actually may run Isaac Rouse at 4'9" as my RB2 on DK, maybe even a super flex. Because after that, we got a lot of issues at running back here. We got first looking at South Alabama. So if you just look straight up, you think South Alabama's got has a decent running attack. Now, they're averaging, 133 yards per game. A.J. Phillips was a freshman. He made a season debut against Texas State. He led the team in carries and yards. He ended up with 19 carries, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then you got a problem here is we got Kareem Walker and Tyrion Avery are both game to game. Walker is pretty much like the starter. So we need news for that tomorrow night. If Walker plays, but he leads a team in rushing with 208 yards in 4 touchdowns in 3 games, if he does play, he'll probably get the start at $6,700. If he's out and Tyrion Avery plays, I think Avery's a great play at 3.6. And Avery should get the start. That's a great value. Now, if they're both out, you got A.J. Phillips, who I just mentioned, who had a good game against Texas State at $6K, and Brian Hill at $4.5K. Now, they both split the backfield last week when Avery and Walker are out. So, you know what I mean? We got a mess here. But when all the dust settled after last weekend, even though Brian Hill started at 4-5, A.J. Phillips ran for, like I said, 19 carries, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, kind of try to simplify this. If Walker and Avery are out, A.J. Phillips becomes, I think, your running back 2 on DK, the second running back you want to use at 6K. If Walker starts, I still think he's playable at 6-7. And the same thing, especially Terry on Avery. If he plays, we said they're both game to game. Great play at 3-6. We won't know half of this or any of this probably till right before lock. And remember last night we had the showdown game. We didn't even know if Cameron Peoples and Nate Noel were even playing until even after the game started. So I wasn't even sure about Peoples if he was dressed or not. You know, we're seeing all kinds of differing tweets. So welcome to College Football DFS. Great edge if you can get the news. So right now, I see the South Alabama running backs as mainly GBP plays unless we get confirmed news. And the thing is, I mean, their running game hasn't been great. So they're averaging just 3.3 runs per carry as a team. And all 4 of these guys have actually led the team rushing at one point or another. So coin toss, wait for news, whatever. So right now I'm concerned to get these guys all GBP plays. Anybody else? You got Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern I've seen is, I've actually seen some people talking about they think Georgia Southern's got a great running game. I mean, they play against Arkansas State. You had Logan Wright. He actually put up great numbers. He had 10 carries, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then you got in the Louisiana game, you got Gerald Green, 18 carries, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. The problem is we don't know who's going to actually come alive in this game. So to me, it's all GBP plays. Right now, they rank second in the Sun Belt, 253 yards per game, but we have no idea who's going to get the ball. Is it going to be Logan Wright? Is it going to be Gerald Green? Is it even going to be Jalen White, J.D. King, any of these guys? We have no idea. So to me, it's all GBP plays. You want to take a chance. Take a chance on Wright, on Logan Wright at the way he did in week 5. I mean, I can't tell you have no idea what his coaches think about, especially we have 3-headed monsters here, 2-headed running back monsters, running back by committees, all that, but GBP plays only. For tomorrow night's 2-game slate. All right, wide receivers for tomorrow night. Now I'm pretty much trying to talk cash here. It's all about Calvin Austin. I mean, Calvin Austin right now is a stud, one of the best in the game. I just saw some numbers on Austin. And this is what I kind of feel bad about Austin because all you're talking about is most of Memphis fans are talking about how bad they are, the 3-3 record, the 3 straight losses, the coaching staff, how they're terrible, and nobody's talking about Calvin Austin the season he's having. He's 9-3, just like we dealt with Drake London last Saturday night. You got to deal with Calvin Austin at 9-3. We probably can get Austin in this slate because of the cheaper plays at running back, being quarterback. As a quarterback 2, super flex. But right now, through 6 games, Austin's got 48 receptions, 837 yards for 8 touchdowns. So that is number 1 in the country in receiving yards. He's number 4 in the country in receptions, and he's tied for 4th in touchdown receptions. Now you start comparing him to last year, where he had a great season. After DeMonte Cox opted out, when Austin kind of took over that team, he finished the season with 63 receptions, 1,053 yards, 11 touchdowns. So most people didn't think that Austin would have been able to put up numbers this year. They were pretty much video game numbers last year. But guess what? He still has 6 games to go. And now he's on pace for 96 receptions, which is 30 more than he had last year, 1,600 yards, and 16 touchdowns during a regular season. It's awesome numbers. And right now, he's on pace to tie Anthony Miller, who is the most prolific receiver actually in Memphis history in receptions. And he should beat his receiving yards record by over like 200 or 300 yards. So, I mean, this guy's awesome. He's got a 239 game against Arkansas State, 200-yard game this past week against Tulsa. Play Calvin Austin as your WR1. You got to in cash games. So where do we go for our WR2 and 3 on this slate? And then once again, after these Memphis guys, the waters get a little muddy. Actually, sticking with let's go to South Alabama. You got Jaylen Tober at 7.5. So you see a lot of people talking about Jaylen Tober as one of the best receivers in the country. He is alpha of that Jaguars offense. He leads the team at 30% target share for 544 yards. But he only has one touchdown, which he actually scored last week. Does he target 7 targets in every game? And he is facing the worst pass defense in the country, Georgia Southern. But it's going to be hard to get Jaylen Tober when you pay a 9.3 for Calvin Austin. So to me, Tober is a GPP play at 7.5. So who else do we have left? We got Sean Dykes from Memphis at 5.6. He's now went over 100 yards in multiple games. We know Austin is the number one target here, but no matter, and we know how teams choose to cover Austin, he's pretty much can't be stopped. He's matchup proof. I think that puts Sean Dykes in a great spot at 5.6. Jalen Ivory, he's had multiple solid performances now. What's Ivory's 4.7? He's in play. I like Dykes better at 5.6. I do have some interest though, and I think is a better play for South Alabama is Jaylen Wayne. First, Jaylen Wayne at 4K. So looking at Wayne, him and Jaylen Tober pretty much don't leave the field. But Wayne has drawn now 6+ targets in 4 straight games. Remember, he's only 4K on DK. He's 6K on FanDuel. Definitely under salary compared to his role and the fact that they're facing the worst pass defense in the nation. So I would say right now, Austin's my WR1. Look at Jaylen Wayne possibly because of price, 4K as my WR2. One other player I like is Caleb Hood for Georgia Southern. Now, Caleb Hood on DK is only 4.4. So he's only $400 more than Hood. Now, more than Wayne. So Caleb Hood, though, right now has got 35.7 target share. Now, Georgia Southern also has that triple option. So through 6 games, he's got 22 receptions, 225 receiving yards, 45 targets. Plus, he does run the ball every now and then. So he's got 53 rushing yards and 1 touchdown on 9 carries. He's got at least 2 carries in 2 straight games. So I like Caleb Hood also for Georgia Southern. Let me see. Hood is he's got seven targets per game. He had 15 targets against Arkansas earlier in the season. Yeah. So if I'm running cash now, I'm running Austin, Jaylen Wayne, and Caleb Hood as my 3 receivers. And that could pretty much get you Hennigan at quarterback, and it can get you your main running back and Brandon Thomas. If you have the money, of course, Jaylen Tober, the 7.5 guy, is the best play. Just don't play. Other guys, I said Sean Dykes at 5.6. You got Colin Lacey at 4.2 for Southern Alabama. GBP play. Jalen Ivory, I mentioned. GBP play. Maybe Eddie Lewis, the Memphis guy. These are all GBP plays only. All right, so we should have enough actually to make a cash team, but I think it may be chalky. So watch your cash games. You want to be a little bit different. Maybe we can start, messing around with some of these Georgia Southern guys or South Alabama's runners. All right, so let's just wrap this up. for Thursday night. Looking at a quick quarterback right now, our top cash play, Seth Hunt again. Your quarterback 2. I've been hearing a lot of talking about this. This may not be a 2-quarterback slate for Superflex, but who the hell else going to use a Superflex unless we get better news on running backs tomorrow? Is Jake Bentley. If not, maybe a little Ty Lavatai for Navy. The kid started now 2 straight games at triple option. He's a runner. Running back, it's all about Brandon Thomas. He's the alpha. He's a stud there at Memphis now. Went through all these other guys. Went through the Clarks. Went through the Watkinses to win the job. Beside that, though, we need some South Alabama news. We need some Georgia Southern news. Or just run a kid from the Navy kid, Isaac Rouse. Or if you take a chance on the RB1 or James Harris, you know, like Rouse better. Receiver, Calvin Austin should be in all your lineups. And then maybe run outside. We like Jaylen Wayne, 4K, Caleb Hood, 4-4. If you can get him in, get Jaylen Tober at 7-5 in, you got a great lineup. All right, so that's Thursday night for our 2-game slate. Thursday DFS. Give me a second to switch over to some of my Friday projections. Friday night is going to be a little bit tougher, but it's 2 days away. We don't have some of the news like we would like to get, but we'll do our best here. If you're with us, though, I mean, join us at $25 a month. First 2 months is a football special. We break it all down. We have a college football room for premium members. We have a regular football room. I have all the news there, all the depth charts, and so on. Whatever we see on Twitter, we break it down. We post it in our premium lineup room, premium rooms, and our YFC Discord. All right, so here we go. Friday night, 4-game slate. Starts at 7 p.m. We got 2 games at 7, 2 games at 10:30, which is pretty cool. So let's. I'm just going to go through the 4 games quickly. I actually wrote them down, trying to make more sense to me. So the first game we got, I'm actually going to go by highest implied totals. So the highest over under the night is 66.5. That is Marshall at North Texas. Marshall's favored by 11 points. They have the highest implied of the night. Marshall 38.75 points. We're going to be playing a lot of guys from Marshall on this slate in cash. Second highest over under tomorrow night, or Friday night, is 54 points. California visiting Oregon. Oregon's a 13.5 point favorite, 33.75 implied total. I think they have the second highest total tonight after Marshall. And then we got California at a 20-25, more the bottom rung for implied totals. And then we got Clemson going to the Dome and Syracuse. My boys almost won a big game last week. Now we're going up against the Clemson defense. It's going to be a little bit harder this week. So Clemson's favored by 13.5. 45 over under. Clemson's got implied total of 29-25. They're actually the third highest implied team tonight behind Oregon and Marshall. Syracuse only at 15.75 going up against that Clemson defense. And then the last game of the night for your implied totals is San Diego State visiting San Jose State. San Diego State's a 9-point favorite. Implied total for themselves at 25-25. So actually, we don't have any, which actually this is pretty cool. We don't have any like huge blowouts. The biggest spread is Oregon and Clemson, but it's not even 2 touchdowns. So pretty good slate for Friday night. And they're broken down at 2 different times, 7 p.m. and 10:30. All right, so let's get to it. Quarterbacks. Oh, I got my wrong projections up here, sorry. Friday night, our top quarterback, without even looking on notes, it's probably going to, projection-wise, I haven't seen any ownership projections yet. Top score, raw points, is going to be Grant Wells for Marshall as they take on North Texas. Let me see. Grant Wells. Just bear with me 1 second. My stats pull up here. This is the problem of jumping on 2 different slates. Okay, so Marshall against Texas. Grant Wells is Grant Wells. He's been, I don't know. He's done everything right now. What's Marshall? Marshall's 3-3. They're 1-1 in Conference USA. Weird team. So they've had their struggles, I would say, but Wells is still having a decent season. 8-7 is probably a fair price for him. He's got 1,992 yards, averaging 332 yards in the air per game. And if you think about it, he only trails Western Kentucky's Briddell Zop for the actually conference lead in ranks. He's still in the top 10 in yards and yards per game. The problem is he's been having this year is his picks. So he had 2 picks against Western Kentucky, I think it was. Whatever. He's got 9 on the season right now. I think it's actually maybe the highest in FBS. He's one of 14 quarterbacks where was got more picks than scores, 8. So the thing is about Wells, though, we know Wells can bounce back. He's got guts. He's got balls. He will throw a pick, and then he'll come right back and throw an overtime. I get touchdown overtime, which we've seen, or in the fourth quarter. When they beat Old Dominion, that comeback, he had the touchdown on the final 2 passes of the game. So in the fourth quarter, in overtime, he's Old Dominion. So we know Wells got the balls to do it. He's having struggles this year, though, but he's still putting the ball in the air. So Wells is probably still your top cash play. So the 11-point favorites, highest implied 38.75 points. Points got to come from somewhere between him and Rasheen Ali. But I do like Wells probably as my top quarterback. But there's a bunch of quarterbacks you can like here tonight. So I would say Wells is my favorite for cash. And then where do you go? So let's look at Anthony Brown. I mean, Anthony Brown is he's having a great start to the season. He's okay, so he's completed 55% of his passes over the last couple games. The problem is what I'm seeing is decision making. Against Stanford, he didn't throw a touchdown. He only completed 14 on 26 passes, and he threw his first pick of the year. But we've seen all year. We've seen Mario Cristobal talk about him. They have faith in him. They think he gives them the best chance to win. He's going to improve as the season goes on. And they don't have much experience behind him. Like they can pull him for like a Ty Thompson, you know what I mean, or a Jay Butterfield, but something like that. So 8-3 though, I think Brown is probably a GPP play. They're going against Cal. Well, I mean, Cal's allowing 280 yards per game through the air, 116th nationally. So I'd say cash / GPP. He's not my favorite play to slate. But if somebody is saying that we'd have no problem playing Anthony Brown, I'm not going to argue it against him. Like I said, he's been up and down. I really can't. To me, more of a GPP play, but I wouldn't argue it if you're playing cash. But the thing is, where else do we go? I don't know. This is a tough one, man. You got Austin Aune, who's probably is slowly becoming my favorite college quarterback right now. I think he now if anybody remembers, maybe he's not like Austin Aune. He was actually drafted by the Yankees in 2011, 2012. Second round. He came out of Texas. Now that was the same draft that had Carlos Correa. Kevin Gosman was in that draft. And these are guys that are still playing. And now you got Aune back as a 28-year-old, still slinging in North Texas. And really, the kid's an athlete. I mean, I've seen him play in the minor leagues. He was a power hitter, whatever. We're talking football now. But he actually was a decent baseball player. So here you got Aune coming in and had a huge game last week. So I have his numbers here somewhere. He came in last week, and let me see. Their 35 points that they scored last week, losing to Missouri, matched the combined total of their previous 3 losses to SMU, Alabama, Birmingham, and Louisiana Tech. So when Ane came in, he pretty much sparked that offense. He's the new quarterback. Jay Schroeder was no longer quarterback. Said he came in, threw for 305. There is 305 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then ran the ball 15 times for 59 carries. So and we know North Texas got a decent rushing attack with DeAndre Torrey there. We know the past 2 games had some rough games, but I really like Austin Ane at 6'8". And if you play Wells with Ane, you can get a lot of other guys you want in your lineup. Now, is he going to be the highest owned cash play? Absolutely not. I do think, though, point per dollar, I still like him. I'm not a Chase Garbers guy, especially he's going up against Oregon. Oregon right now averages 1.8 picks per game. Garbers is throwing 5 picks in 5 games. I'm off Chase Garbers, but I know a lot of people that like him and think he's a QB2 for this week. So, anybody else you got there? We got DJ from Clemson. He still hasn't shown me nothing yet this year. To me, GBP only. And then we got my man Garrett Schrader from Syracuse. Now, Schrader last week won me out all my cash games. All my cash games, he won me out. This kid's running back, playing quarterback. So he had 29. He had 29. He had like 29 carries. Yeah, there was more than any other SU runner in like the last 2 decades. Crazy numbers. He's played 4 games, got like 12 touchdowns. But once again, now when you're going up against Clemson, the Clemson rush defense right now is only allowed 104 rush yards per game. Second best on the slate compared to San Diego State. So you can't be playing my man Garrett Schrader Friday night. So it's a tough one, man. You got I would say Grant Wells is your top play, and then we got the money. I guess Anthony Brown going up against Cal, but I may take a chance on Austin Ane and see what he can do. And you got a decent over under going there. You got a 66.5 over under. You got Marshall giving up 214 yards in the ground per game on as a runner. So, yeah, my sneaky play may be Ane. I think it's sneaky. I'm curious to see when projections come out and see what they look like. All right, so we're running back Friday night. 4-game slate. Your top runner on the board, raw point wise, in my opinion, well, man, maybe not. As before the show came on, I was all over Rasheen Ali as a top runner at 7-3. Ali's having an awesome season now. So he is. Let me pull up his numbers. Last week was his first game without a touchdown since week 2. He leads the FBS with 11 TDs on the ground. And right now he's a top 3 Conference USA with 560 yards rushing, over 94-yard average per game. And 6 games, he has 3 with at least without 3 touchdowns. And he had that 4-touchdown game against Navy on just 14 carries when he blew out Navy open day 49-7. So Ali at 7-3 is a great place. If I can get him I think there's 3 great running backs Friday night. Ali's your first. Is he my favorite? I'm not sure. But looking at North Tech's run defense, they're allowing 210 rushing yards per game. This is one of the reasons I like Ali. So I think, though, my favorite running back is probably going to be Travis Dye for Oregon. And mainly because, Oregon was always a two-headed monster. two great running backs, C.J. Briddell, Travis Dye, and that was always a problem in DFS is which one do you play. But now C.J. Briddell is out for the season. Travis Dye is all alone now. Take over the top running back job, and you got three freshmen behind him. So it's not like it's going to be running back committee. It's all about Travis Dye. So he's got it all on his shoulders right now. C.J. Briddell, was a great runner. But the thing is, Dye's been here before. He's the leading rusher for Oregon in 2020 after Briddell got hurt before that. He carried about 64 times, 443 yards, a touchdown in 7 games. He also caught the ball 9 times. This season, Dye has rushed 60 times, 382 yards, 3 TDs. He's also caught 8 passes for 80 yards. So, but those two together, that 1-2 punch, was being earlier in the season when we made the season previews. Me and Walt talked about the top tandems. I remember even asking that question. Was Dye and Briddell a top trio or top duo in college football? I think kind of both of us are one of the top 2. They've combined for 5,000 yards, pretty much the most in FBS the past 3 seasons. But now it's all about Travis Dye. So I think if you can, and maybe this is where Austin Onay comes into play. And I can't believe I'm becoming like a fanboy of Onay. But if you play like an Austin Onay at 6'8" with the Grant Wells at 8'7", can you get in Ali and Dye? I haven't made a lineup yet, but I'm going to try. Anybody else? The third main running back I do like, as I mentioned earlier, though, is DeAndre Torrey for North Texas. North Texas pretty much really relied heavy on this running back room. Torrey is averaging 120 yards per game, which is the top. Yeah, it is by far the top of Conference USA, 6th highest in the nation. And they're averaging as a team 20 yards per game. So we know they have a good running back room. We know Onay can run. So can you make the lineup with Torrey, Dye, and Ali? It may be tough, but they're your 3 top birds on a slate. I would rank them probably now, mainly because of price. Dye 1, Ali 2, Torrey 3. Yeah. So I'm looking now like on a Wednesday night, 2 days before the slate. Especially when, like I said, look at North Texas, Marshall was giving up 214 yards on the ground. So there's going to be a lot of ground yards in that North Texas Marshall game. Okay, so beside Ali, beside Torrey, beside Travis Dye, is there anybody else we like? Is there any value we can look at tomorrow night? Sheldon Evans from Marshall, maybe? I wish he was cheaper, but how about Kobe Pace? But Kobe Pace is 5'6". Next you know, he's only $1,000 less than Torrey. But I like Kobe Pace. Let me see. Pace, they had that bye week last week, but the week before that they played Boston College. Yeah, he was the ACC running back of the week 2 weeks ago. He had 125 yards, 18 carries, 1 touchdown. It was actually Clemson's first 100-yard game of the season on the ground. And Pace had a career-long rush, 59 yards, and career-long reception, 33 yards. So he's involved in the passing game, 41 receiving yards and 2 receptions, 44 return yards and 2 kickoffs. So he had 210 all-purpose yards. That was their first 200 all-purpose yard game since Travis Etienne in last October, I think it was. So Pace is definitely in play. GBP play. He's my fourth probably. He's not even my fourth favorite. I kind of jumped over, but GBP play only. A couple other guys. Greg Bell, San Diego State. Many college football guys know Greg Bell. Greg Bell definitely in play. And then you got my man Sean Tucker for Syracuse. The thing is, again, problem is Sean Tucker going up against that Clemson defense. To me, Tucker's having an awesome season. We're actually going to see if Tucker's matchup proof because he's 9K. You can't play him in cash Friday night. But if he rolls all over Clemson, then he's matchup proof. And you can play him every night, but you're going to be paying for him. Getting back to Greg Bell, I've always been a huge Greg Bell guy. Right now, I mean, he is averaging 104 yards per game, 5.5 yards per carry. He's averaging almost 20 fantasy points a game. So don't sleep on Greg Bell going up against the San Jose State. San Jose State right now is giving up 141 yards on the ground, which is pretty mediocre, middle of the road. But if you think about, there's some good runners on the slate. But Greg Bell, beside the game against Towson, he only ran the ball 2 times. Every game he's ran over 20 times beside Arizona game. We still only ran 17, but still had 125 yards. Greg Bell's having an awesome season. So if you can't get in one of those guys, if you can't get in, if you have to drop down a little bit and you can't get those other like guys, the Ali, the Tories in, you can go to Greg Bell. No, never mind. Greg Bell's 7-7. I'm sorry. Greg Bell still is not in that top 3. So GBP only. Like I said, Sean Tucker, 9K, GBP only. And I was actually talking value. Is there any value plays like I really like? There isn't. I said Sheldon Evans may be my favorite for Marshall. And, he's playing behind Ali. Maybe Chris Brooks from Cal. Kyrie Robinson for San Jose State. These are all plays that to me are GBP plays. Chris Brooks would probably be my one interest, but I don't have a hell of a lot of interest, especially as a cash play. I mean, last game. Brooks had touched the ball 8 times. He had 40 yards. So GBP play. If you can, you want to get 2 of Ali, Torrey, or Dye in your main lineup. All right, kind of wrap this up. Receivers for Friday night. Corey Gamage is your top player receiver. 6'9" is not a bad place for Corey Gamage. Can you make a lineup of Grant Wells, Rasheen Ali, and Corey Gamage, kind of like the Memphis game on tomorrow night, with the same guys with the quarterback, running back, receiver? Possibly, because I think Gamage is not going to kill you at 6'9". I mean, it's not a cheap price, but he's the alpha receiver of that team. We know what he can do. I don't have to sit here and go over all Corey Gamage's numbers, but he's definitely the guy, probably a core play. I would consider Corey Gamage a core play in the receivers, because there's not between Gamage and the next top receiver, there's a little bit of a distance there. And I would say the next top receiver is his teammate, Shadeed Ahmed. Now I'm trying to pull up these Marshall guys. So you got Shadeed Ahmed, 6'1", GBP play. You got Gamage at 6'9". Willy Johnson, 4'5". I love him as a value play. I also love Xavier Gaines at 3'9". So I just pulled up the Marshall receivers. Can you play? I think you can possibly play 2 or 3 receivers from Marshall in a main lineup. I think you get Gamage in. I think Gamage is a core play. Ahmed's GPP. But can you play a Willy Johnson, Xavier Gaines in a main lineup? I think you probably can. Because right now, let's look at Willy Johnson first. Look at Johnson's last game against Dominion. 6 targets, caught the ball 3 times, 63 yards, touchdown. Middle Tennessee, 8 targets, caught the ball 5 times, 68 yards. So that's not bad for WR2, WR3, especially on DK. Now we got Xavier Gaines. Gaines, your tight end. Probably would be my play over. Nah, I think Johnson actually a better spot. But against Old Dominion, Gaines on 4 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards. Middle Tennessee, 7 targets, 3 catches. But then against Appalachian State, 6 targets, 5 catches, 104 yards, touchdown. So, they're pretty even. But I would think right now I would be looking toward like a Corey Gamage and maybe a Willy Johnson. And then do I have enough money for a guy like a Justin Ross for Clemson, who is 6'2", $6,200. Johnson is Justin Ross is their top. He's the alpha. He's the top receiver on that Clemson team. He hasn't had the greatest of seasons, but he is. Now I'm thinking he was in a concussion protocol. Okay, no, he's cleared it. So he just cleared a concussion protocol 2 days ago or yesterday. He got that Boston College game early. So Justin Ross is good to play. He had his best game against North Carolina State, 8 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was his best game this year, 2 weeks ago. If you're a little bit worried about Justin Ross, that is kind of a high price for a guy just coming out of protocol. Anybody else we got here? We got Roderick Burns for North Texas, 5'7", playable. Kakoa Crawford, 4'6" for Cal. Then now we're starting to get into more GVP plays. I think I'm missing anybody. Crawford's probably my favorite out of that bunch beside Gaines and Willy Johnson. Micah Pittman for Oregon, but that's 3.9. Pretty much it, unless you take a chance on my man Corey Jackson at 3.9 at 4.4. But it said they're going up against the Clemson defense. So Corey Gamer is your play. Then you got to go a little bit cheaper. I don't think you can get Justin Ross on a receivers, and you probably then go to a second Marshall receiver, and then probably find a scrub for your third. All right, so let's wrap this up for Friday night. Just if anybody's any questions. If you do, you can ask them in Discord in the Premium College Room. We'll answer them by Friday. Let's review Friday night slate. Quarterback. If you have the money, so I haven't built the lineup yet. Grant Wells is your top play at 8.7. Especially when Anthony Brown's only $400 cheaper, you play Grant Wells. I like Austin Ane. I could be wrong. I also touted Brandon Lewis this year from Colorado. It was like week 2 or 3, and I got my doors blown in. So, but then last week I touted Garrett Schrader, and he won me a lot of money. So, but I think to me, Austin Ane is a great play. Chase Garbers may end up being more popular at 6.2 for Cal going up against Oregon. So Oregon's not exactly been world beaters this year, and right now Oregon has given up 275 yards in the air per game. I just don't like Chase Garbers, but Garbers is probably going to be the popular play for your QB2. Anybody else? No. I'm not messing with DJ from Clemson. Ugabale, nope. I'm not messing with, like a Jordan Brookshire. Jordan Brookshire is only 6'4", but GBP only. I would, if I'm multi-entering, I'm going to run a Garrett Schrader or something just to see if he's the real deal. Running back, to me, Travis Dye is probably a core play, probably your top play. If I can get Travis Dye and Rasheen Ali in, I'm going to be really happy. If I can't get Ali in my lap, then I'm going to drop down to probably DeAndre Torrey because I think Greg Bell and Sean Tucker are probably too expensive and probably more GBP plays. If there's a value play, you can play in cash tomorrow night. Friday night, I don't think there is. But if there's anybody, maybe Kobe Pace at 5'6", and maybe down to like a Sheldon Evans for Marshall at 4'1". Wide receiver, Corey Gamage is your top play. And then, like I said, you're going to probably run it back with one of Willy Johnson or Xavier Gaines as teammates for your second receiver. And then we're going to do your third man. I don't know. If you can get Shadid Ahmed, great. But he's 6'1". Maybe Kakoa Crawford for Cal, especially if you're running Chase Garbers. Then you do play Crawford and hook up with Crawford. And then my whole goal is to get that third running back in my flex spot on Friday night. Is to play Dye, Ali, and Torrey. If not Torrey, Kobe Pace. All right. I just got for an hour. Tomorrow night is our main show. Thursday night, 9 p.m. We're going to talk about the main slate Saturday. We'll be much prepared for that. I'm going to have Wes with me. He's going to kind of moderate. I'm going to go through each game, Give you my core plays. Oh, PrizePicks. Sorry about that. Do we have a PrizePicks for tomorrow? Let me call the board. Is there? Let me make sure there's any PrizePicks, please. Okay, so I mean, you guys can play PrizePicks in your state. We got Jake Bentley. Let me see. Bentley, 232 yards. Now remember, Bentley hasn't had the greatest of seasons, but Georgia Southern is the worst pass defense in the country. I would probably take the Jake Bentley over 232. I'm taking Austin Aune over 138.5 passing yards. Rushing yards. Anybody that jumps out at me? I like the Isaac Rouse for Navy over 43.5. No one's really jumping out at me. Now DeAndre Torrey, 88.5. That may be a little bit on the low end. Because remember, I think I like that DeAndre Torrey. What is Marshall allowing? Marshall's allowing 214 yards on the ground. Yeah, so take the Torrey over PrizePicks. I like that. Torrey over 88.5 yards rushing. And on receiving yards, anybody? Why not? I mean, Calvin Austin is 121. Why not Calvin Austin over one? I mean, Austin is having this season for the ages. Navy's middle of the road pass. I might leave that alone to 121. That's kind of high. But I think we got enough there to get started. Probably core game over 81.5. I think there is enough where we can go. The plays I just gave you. We'll have more. I'll have more in my top plays article for Thursday night, which will be out tomorrow morning, and we'll have a Friday top plays, which will be out Friday morning or tomorrow night. A lot going on. We have college football now for the next three days straight. A lot to talk about. So join our Discord. $25 a month for the first 2 months. All the NFL you can take, all the college football you can take, soccer. We do all the esports. We're doing. Oh my God, we're doing European basketball. NHL just started. NBA preseason, the guys are crushing that. I know I'm forgetting sports, golf, all that stuff. If DK plays it, we cover it. We do an article for it. There's no questions. We're out of here. Thank you to my producer, G. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Deuces.